Hello, all. This is Morning Minutes for Wednesday, March 26, 2025. Today's offering is more of a question. Are you striving to be the hero of your own story? Listen to what the Apostle Paul says in the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 6 and verse 19. Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and that you are not your own? In other words, your life is not your own because you belong to God. You are His, as stated emphatically in the book of Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 1. Holy Spirit brought that question above to mind almost 1 week to the day before I decided that it was time for me to move on from my current church. And within 2 days of that, my contract was not renewed at work. Coincidences? Yeah, I think not. Now, God has given us authority on earth to decide, to choose, to forgive, to loose, and to bind, but never apart from His character or His love. In fact, in the book of John, chapter 20, verse 23, Jesus says, "If you forgive the sins of any, their sins have been forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they have been retained." And similarly, in the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 18, He says, "Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall have been bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall have been loosed in heaven." So, we've been given this power and authority from heaven. But being still human and soulish, our natural tendency is to imagine ourselves as the end of the matter when it comes to our successes and achievements. The truth is, however, that when it comes to our lives here on earth, there can only be one hero in that story. Take a moment now to think back. Picture a few moments of your life, whether good or bad, then try to remember, where was God in those things? And I don't mean was God there, because He most certainly was. What I mean is, where do you see Him in all the joy and pain and peace and travail you experienced? So, now that you have that picture in mind, ask yourself why you would ever want to be the hero of your own story. John the Baptist exemplifies this acknowledgement and surrender for us in the passage from his gospel in chapter 3 and verse 30. He says, "He," meaning Jesus, "must increase, but I must decrease." Now, what John understood was that he was not, nor could he ever be, the leading man in his own story. He had, as do we all, a very significant supporting role, but he was never intended to be the hero. So back to my own circumstance noted above, the enemy was equally as loud in my mind as Holy Spirit. Only in listening, I had to make the distinction and decision of who am I going to believe and who am I going to trust? This time it was pretty easy, but there are times when I've tried, almost always unsuccessfully, to take the reins myself. The results of both are as stark as the differences between two opposing voices, both claiming the only answer. So in closing, when we try to be the hero and do life on our own, in our own ways, there's always frustration, stress, depression, condemnation, and usually failure. When we surrender our lives and allow Jesus through Holy Spirit to use our circumstances for His glory, there is always peace, comfort, confidence, and God's inexpressible love. So as you go out today into the world, remember firstly that there can only be one advocate, one true protagonist, and only one hero in your life story, and only Jesus can claim that title. So walk in freedom that only comes from trusting Him with everything, and as always, make today a great one.